So today's Saturday. I worked at my main job, and the last interesting assignment was, and all day I was on the Freightliner, so no scaffolding. But the last interesting assignment was they asked me to preload for Monday both Freightliners. And I said, okay. So I loaded a telehandler, like a 10,000 pound machine, on my Freightliner. And then I loaded 2 scissor lifts on the other Freightliner. And so I went back to see dispatch. I said, do I get like a cookie or something, or some kind of bonus for preloading both trucks? I'm like, what the heck is going on? But at least they let me go, so that was it. They said, yeah, you can go. That was like 20 minutes after 3. I think, just like 3 o'clock. Beautiful. I already have 52 hours for the week, so it was, I don't know, it's busy, like better than in the summer. And so I went on the way back, so I had all my gym clothes with me. On the way back, I'm in the Durango. I stopped at the gym and did some intensive 30-40 minute workout. I included a quick deadlift video over there. So last time I deadlifted 140 pounds, which I did before with kettlebells, because I used 2 70-pound kettlebells, and so I knew that I can do 140. So that's what I did last time, I think Wednesday. And today I got a bit brave, so I thought, okay, let's see what happens if I do 160. And 160 felt already definitely like proper weight for me, because I could, after, like you will see in the video if you watch that short clip, I think number 8 lift was already difficult, and then I had to walk towards the that frame where you drop the barbell. You don't want to grab too much of a weight, because then you won't be able to, when you're tired, you won't be able to put it back on the rack, right? And Monday we have a mayor's election, so I already know who I'm voting for. Unfortunately, somebody stole my sign, in my lawn sign, which said vote for Jerome Vargas, whatever his name is. But anyway, so I'm supporting this guy because he promises to be focused on infrastructure, including roads. And I said, that's for me, that's the worst part about Calgary is the roads, potholes, those man lift covers, whatever, sorry, what's the expression? But those recessed metal discs that allow access to manhole covers, man lift. I'm thinking deadlift. So anyway, in other news, so the last I heard from my brother through WhatsApp from my mom's phone, just date of death and date and time, no signature, no nothing. But of course, because he told me before that mom was on the deathbed, she's not using the phone, so I knew that it's my brother Alex, because nobody else is there, unless it's Sergei, my nephew, but he's at the war, fighting crazy Ukrainians that for some reason don't like it when somebody tries to grab their country. And so I knew that it was Alex, but I asked him on the app, on WhatsApp, like, when is the funeral? Where, what cemetery? Because sooner or later this war is going to be over. I still have a valid passport. I'm a citizen of Russia, so I can fly over there and, at least just pay my respects, right? Because I haven't seen her. Last time I saw my mom, it was like 5 years ago, and she was asking me to come over because, Sergei, I'm not going to see you again before I die. But I said, I cannot come because of the war, because I helped Ukraine, and there were cases when people were jailed when they saw on social media that you were sending money to Ukraine, and they would label you as a Ukrainian spy and put you in prison. It happened a couple of times before, where some Ukrainian American girl came over to Russia, and she sent like $50 to Ukraine, and somehow they found out, and they said, you're a traitor, go to jail. So I said, I cannot come unless the war is over. And so he was not answering. So my brother was not answering, so I had no idea when she's buried or where. And I'm thinking, like, he's punishing me, He doesn't, like, how do I find out? Well, I know where she lived, so I guess, let's say when I go there, I would just go to government office that keeps all these records of, death and marriages and, these new babies, right? And that's where they should be, because... Sorry, I had to stop the video. Lyft was offering me something, but it's like $9 for 11 kilometers. Whereas I just did my first run. So after, I did the gym, I did my protein shake, feeling good, took a shower, then did the shake and started Uber and Lyft, and waited like 10-15 minutes, and Lyft gave me a guy from my area just going 2 kilometers to Freshco, which is, a large grocery store where I shop. And for some reason, it paid me $8. Like, what? Normally they don't pay that, $8 for 2 kilometers. I checked the records. Maybe the guy hired an XL, but it was just one guy. And turns out Lyft has a 40% turbo going on. Basically they give you extra 40%. So now Lyft is running in the background together with Uber, and I'm sitting in the Freshco here because there's a bunch of stores here and shops. So I hope somebody will hire an Uber or Lyft when they're ready to go home with groceries. But anyway, so yeah, I was getting a bit discouraged, with my brother. He's not answering on the WhatsApp on my mom's phone. And I'm thinking, he doesn't want to tell me, like, what do I do? And then I realized, wait a second. So my mom is dead, right? That's her phone. And he has his own phone. That's how they communicated, right? So he would call or text or use WhatsApp to contact mom on her phone. But now that she's dead and you have your own phone, like, what do you do with the phone of a dead person? Right? You probably shut it down or deactivate it so you don't want to pay, another monthly bill. And so I thought that made sense. And so instead of using WhatsApp, I went to my email. And I remember his email address because it's been the same for like 20 years, same as mine. And I sent him an email to his email address. I said, briefly, I said, when is the funeral? What cemetery? And that was like yesterday. Yeah, I sent it yesterday, my time, like evening. But it's already midnight, after midnight in Russia, right? Because they're forward like 9 hours. And then this morning, I'm leaving with my first load, and I see there's a message in my inbox. I click on the message, and that's the answer from my brother. And he says, well, usually funerals are held on the third day after death, and he said we buried her yesterday, which was October 17th, and he says she's buried near Perisvet, which is the little town where she lived, and he says the name of the village is this, and he gave me the name of the village where she's buried. So now I have all the info, and he included 3 pictures, like a picture of the showing the plot, the monument, you know, like I had tears in my eyes, you know, like, and he never asked me for anything, so I assume he did everything himself. But beautiful monument, you know, lots of flowers. I definitely want to come, you know, when the war is over. I want to see that place. But I found that village. I opened Google Maps, I typed in Moscow, Russia, and then I scrolled to that north of Moscow. There's a town called Sergei Posad, and then still north of that, that's like a big district town, and then next to that one is this small town, Perisvet in Russian. And I found that village that she mentioned where she's buried, and that village is like all, I even was able to find a street view, and it's all fields and forests, you know, it's like beautiful place. But I couldn't see the actual cemetery, but I just saw somebody posted pictures of some fields and trees. It's like a very small village, but I guess they didn't have maybe enough spots in Perisvet itself. For some reason they buried her in this little village. So yeah, so finally some closure. So now I know when she was buried and where. So my brother did not disappoint. And so after I got those pictures and the information, I just asked him one last question. I said, what was the cause of death? Right? I said, was it a heart attack? Was it a stroke? Was it kidneys, because she had one kidney basically not working? Or was it, what else can it be? Usually it's either heart, maybe cancer, but nobody in our family before had cancer. So, but I'm just curious, you know, for my own sake, because it's all genes, right? So that I know what I have to look out for. But so far, I didn't have an answer. So, I have no idea what she died of.